All right, well, here's another one. Doesn't look too bad. There are some evidence marks here like that. That's a hole. And on the other side, in the same spot, that's a hole. Kind of, it's got that going on. I think it's got a wiggle. Yep. So, see, those are, yeah, they're cooked. So is that one. And that one. So, get to it. There it is. That is off the truck. Every Crossmember is pretty much toast. I gotta do these corners for the floor. Very typical for these PA beds, or probably I'm sure for any northeastern state that uses salt on the roads. Got a little spot I'm gonna have to fix there. There. Might be okay there. Sometimes these look worse than they are. It's like the only one that's like really not destroyed is this one. At least not yet, but it's definitely on its way out. So I always change this one out no matter what. Although this one's the most pain in the butt because it has the most spot welds in it, but it's definitely worth doing since you're already here. So yeah, time to start the tear down. Okay, a little update. Just started doing this. So usually this Crossmember here, like it's got a bunch of spot welds all down here. Usually, or at least the last two times I've done these, is I would just take like a 3/8 drill bit and just drill through both panels and blow out the whole weld. And sure, that was like kind of faster than what I'm doing now, but obviously taking a drill and trying to push up like this, it gets kind of tiring and it's annoying because then you got metal shavings hitting your hands and your wrists. Sometimes I just wear my welding sleeves along with the gloves to do that. So I figured this time, instead of doing that, I took an angle grinder, just cut the rest of that because this thing was already apart. Even if it wasn't, I just would have folded it forward. And then I pre-drilled these like I normally do with a smaller bit. And then I took the spot weld cutter that I got, just like this. These are cheap ones from Harbor Freight, and they actually work pretty good as long as you throw some oil on. Anyways, so I just started to do those and, drill from the top because it's easier on you, and it's actually going really well. Like, just right along, no issues. And also when it comes time to weld this Crossmember back in, same thing, like with working from the bottom up. Much easier to weld from the top down than it is to do like, like essentially like overhead welding, but coming up from the bottom. So I would highly recommend doing it that way than what I was doing before. But by all means, if you have any other ideas at all, please let me know on how like you would do this. So far, I think that's the best method. And you know, once you got these going along here, I always use a nice, good, you know, chisel. Get that edge nice and sharp, and then just kind of work it along. And that'll be that. And I don't have like body hammers, so I just use this fancy ball peen hammer that was given to me forever ago. Let's zoom out. Okay, so here we go. So had some help during the day while I was at my day job, and I didn't have to worry about this part, which was pretty great. So had a buddy of mine take care of that. So now I came back to this, and I had to finish removing this front because I told you how I was going to cut it and then drill from the top. So I finished doing that. And just to remember, there are see, this side has 2 spot welds, and then this side has 1, 2, but there is another one in there that I kind of just had to wiggle the metal and it came off. And then other than that, I just went back over it just to kind of clean up rusty areas. You can see these look different than those. That's because these ones have been rust treated. At least I sprayed the first coat, so just to try and protect some of the area that I'm not going to be able to like get to once it's welded on. The other method you can do is you can get weld through primer. That'll work too, but honestly, doing the rust converter would be your best bet. And then once this stuff's all together, get some like either get some spray paint and like spray the crap out of it and let it run down between the 2 seams, or I would just get like fluid film or something and do the same thing. That's about the only way you're gonna, you know, get good protection there. So other than that, I just had this little trouble spot here. I thought I had to replace the whole corner, but actually ended up being pretty good. Yeah, I'm probably not even going to fully weld this in because honestly, you don't really need to. Like, this isn't a structural part for the most part, so I just some spot welds in there, and then I like to seam seal top and bottom. I mean, yeah, you could go the extra, you know, spend the extra time and fit this completely in there and butt weld the whole thing in there, but truthfully, because this is a truck bed and it's used for landscaping and all that stuff, I'm not too worried about it. If it was like, you know, like a 70s or 60s truck getting restored, totally different. Then you're doing like what I call the restoration process, but this is a repair. So this side actually is okay. That hole there, that's actually from the spot weld, so I just got to fill this one back up and, you know, kind of move along. And I got a couple of these. I mean, you'll have that when you're drilling out these spot welds. Sometimes they're hard to see, and sometimes you just go a little bit too far, but it's nothing to fix, you know. So just keep moving along with that. This whole section here looks like it's actually all good. I just need to spray that so it can set up. And then I have to replace this bad spot. This is kind of how I'll do the patch. I mean, you can do the whole thing. It's just, usually if I don't have to, I don't want to worry about trying to line the hole back up. I know you can just do measurements and stuff and figure it out, but just don't, yeah, it's just not necessary to go bananas on it. So if it was, then I would do that, but that's all right. So same thing here. That's not a crack. It's actually just like a layer that needs grinded off, but so I'm just going to replace that whole section until I got the clean metal, and then that'll take care of that. This side down here looks pretty good. That's just from a spot weld. That's from a spot weld. Actually, this floor down here is usually like trashed. It's usually, you always need like a patch the whole way across right there, or like a couple, and it's goofy. Same with these corners. These corners are usually junk all the way back, but this is actually good. This is actually from trying to get the spot, like prying up and getting the spot welds out. So again, I'll just use my welding spoon and I'll fix that. Same thing over here, not too bad. Same thing there. So I mean, this side, this down here is great. So I just got to do some of those little goofy things. Obviously, if you try to slow down a little bit and watch what you're doing, you can prevent that, but it takes practice. And my buddy that does it, I mean, he's pretty good at it. He's fast, but that comes with time. It took me, years, I guess you could say, like, to perfect the whole going fast and not blowing through the bed at times. But it's just practice. Just got to keep up with it. So all right, so now I'm gonna get this piece here. We're gonna fit it up and see how it looks for now. If I can stop, that would help. Anyways, so there's the first fit up, just kind of laying it in there so you could see what that looks like. So you got to pull this seam here together, which this actually looks like it will go better. Yeah, so far actually the fit up looks pretty good. That actually, geez, I mean, that's very good. I'll be honest with you, this is probably the best fit I've ever had with like this aftermarket Crossmembers. I really like these because they are, for the price, you can't beat it. Getting all of them with the hardware and everything for under 200 bucks. Yeah. But sometimes I just have issues with the way these are. I know I had one that was like opened up and it would rock, so I had to squeeze it back together, and it was kind of a mess. And then there was another one, the holes were just slightly off, and I think another one, it was this flange here just didn't quite sit right. But other than that, the rest of them go on like they should, and it does make it a lot easier, because I used to use square tubing for these and cut out my own holes and everything, because I have all the dimensions to use square tubing if I have to. But those ones I would stitch weld all the way across, and I'd say it made the bed probably stronger, because I mean, I used 1/8 inch, so it was thicker than this. This stuff here's no thicker than probably 16 at times. No, that's definitely 18, but there are thicker ones out there, I know that. So yeah, the only one of the downfalls using square tubing is, one, there's like more prep, cutting holes out of the tubing and stuff like that. Welding takes longer, and it does make the bed overall like a lot heavier. So in my case, since I don't have a real good way to like turn these over when I have to pick them up and flip them, it's just a lot more difficult. So yeah, other than that, that's what I got so far. Just gonna double check some of these measurements. You see I got this line here, so I made an initial mark, so to the top of that should be the top of this edge here. So it's very close. I just have to get it to sit down a little bit more, which that's not a problem, because there's still some metal here I gotta grind a little bit, like old metal, so I got have it sit down like that. And this side, I didn't check. This side actually might be good. Yeah, that's really, I don't think I'm even gonna touch this side. This side looks good. So you definitely want to do that, like put a reference line for this edge here, however you want to mark it, and that way you put this back and it's the same as it was before. Because if you don't, you're going to throw off your body lines on the truck itself, and you probably know how bad that looks. When these beds go out and they blow out here, the bed sags and it throws the body lines off. Or if you've seen a truck like that, body lines mismatch, and it just doesn't look good. And obviously if you go through all that and you don't mismatch them, then it's, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. So it's like, yeah, so just pay attention to the little things like that. It makes everything you know, more satisfying in the end, especially when you throw it all back on and, you know, it looks 100% factory and everything lines up. So, okay, here we go. So I got this thing all prepped. So it does take a little bit to prep these because, you know, like I mark each spot weld with like something I can see. So in this case, a white grease pencil. And then once I get all my holes marked and I take all this stuff off, I drill out all those. So those will be all plug welds, spot welds, whatever you want to call them. And then, you know, there's still more you got to do up here. So, I mean, this is what I do. I put everything back just how it was, how it came from the factory. So I'm doing all of that. And it is a lot more work, but that's just what I like to do. You definitely could, you know, skip all that. You don't even have to drill holes. You could just, you know, just get some weld on the edges and stuff. I've seen people do that, and it does work, but I just don't like the way it looks. I like to make everything look like it was never touched. So that's why I'm doing it like this. So I got this all squared away. Got my, oh, I can't find a hole with holding the phone. It's this one. It's just about there. Yep, right there. And then this one, it's really hard to see, but yeah, it's there. So these actually lined up pretty well. So I'll get these all welded in here in a second. The only thing I got to do differently is, like I said, I definitely want to be aware of this edge. So we need to get this down. So it will go down if I push on it. So that's usually what I do is I push down, and I got some like squeeze, like little welding clamps. So I'll get it pinched right there and hold it in place. Get these in here first, and that'll lock in the height of the rail itself. And then from there, that's when I start to work on everything else. And my only tip I could say is like, don't just work on this and weld this all the way in before you do the front. Once you get your height locked in, I would, double check the bed bolt holes itself. You never know, just double check. And then, maybe lock in a couple spot welds here, and then start to lock in some spot welds on the floor. Get the floor pulled back up, and then double check your stuff before you go to town. And then that's it. So probably another half an hour and this will be done. This rail, not the bed. So okay, so I spoke too soon. I had to fidget with this a little bit, so this whole process was probably not a half an hour, but probably like 45 minutes. Because once I got everything lined up here, so you see these holes are just like pretty much dead on. Oh, that's right, this one's like kind of enlarged, but it's perfect. So like, yeah, just make sure your holes are perfect, and then the height's good. So I was lining up my holes look good, and then when I got down to here and I was putting a straight edge, right where it would touch the frame and stuff, it was sitting, too high. So I had to smush this down. And smush, I mean, push this all down before I locked anything in. And once I got that set, then I tacked these in. I know this isn't real pretty, but it's definitely good now. But once I got that locked in, this edge here became like, it's like this part here wasn't, the flange isn't long enough. So I ended up just filling in my previous, in this panel here that I drilled, all my plug welds I drilled, I ended up just filling those in, and then basically just doing little stitch welds right on the edge here. So this is still, I mean, when you go to look at it, it still looks like factory spot welds, so I'm good with that. And then not that it really matters, but this is a 2016 bed, and I had no idea that they come with this weather stripping that goes over that. So if that's important to you, the way it looks, that might make you feel better, but either way. So other than that, got everything spot welded in. So yeah, this is why I choose to spot weld, because I just think it looks a lot better than having, you know, these are all pretty much perfect. So instead of having these little stitches or little, you know, welds on the edge that just look, I don't know, I guess not factory, you know, I just like to do it like this. It just looks better. Looks like you, you know, looks like you care about what you're doing. So that's what I like about it. So yeah, this will probably be it for tonight. Because really this part here, this is the one that takes the longest, because you have so many different things. You know, you want to get these edges all tied up. You got to get the floor underneath butted up, this flange here that way, your bolt holes and whatnot. After that, these ones literally just, especially this one just literally lays in place and you weld it in. And these ones, all you have to do is just line up the bolt holes and start plug welding them in, and they're good. So there's not much else really. Oh, and the funny thing is, in the kit I ordered, I'm starting to be punished for what I said earlier, saying you can't beat the price of the kit. Well, I guess there's a reason for that, because I ordered a long bed kit and it showed up, and I ended up getting a short bed kit. So like I said, I have measurements for using square tubing, so I actually had this one still here. So that is going to make up this cross member here. And it's nice because this one, I don't have to do anything with it other than clean it up and flip it in here and then just stitch weld it in, and that's it. So I'm not worried about it. Obviously, this is the one that really makes the difference between a short bed cross member kit and a long bed cross member kit. It's just this piece. Long beds need this piece here. Short beds don't come with it. So just a little bit of information for you. Yeah, that's about all I got for tonight, so we'll get back on it tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, I was kind of showing there. I'm going to show you how I prep and install the square tubing cross member. So this is another option you could do if you don't feel like doing this, but right now in my area it's actually more cost effective to do this than to buy square tubing anymore, because prices have just you know, obviously inflated. So that's why I don't usually use the square tubing. But in this case, since this long bed kit showed up without this piece, I had to, you know, get what I could get basically the same day and make it work. So next, like I said, I got a couple little holes I just got to fill up with some weld. But other than that, you know, I'm going to lay this piece in here, and then you could see how I kind of clean up the ribs. Jeez, I'm sorry, I'm shaky. And then I just stitch weld each side of the cross member. I usually don't do every rib because you don't need to. I usually, you know, like I'll alternate, like do one here, do one here, do one on that side. Kind of like stagger it basically. So that's what we're going to do next. See if I can do it without shaking. Let's watch the floor. That's it. I usually lift up until I start to lift the bed. There we go. Now we can weld. Alright, so got that all welded in there. See, well, that's a tack, but that's okay. So little stitch welds, that's all I use. Hold these cross members in, place the square tube. So you got a little stitch there in the end, that way it locks it in on the side. So we got those down there. So you don't need to go bananas on it, because these are already much more, you know, than from the factory. So, and that's about it. And the nice thing is, like, you know, comparing it from the factory one, like I know the factory one has that dip in it for the tank. This square tube actually does not even interfere with that, so you don't have to worry about that part. I guess if you really wanted to and you wanted to make it look factory, you know, you could take some measurements and like literally cut out that kind of like dip. Not worth it, sorry. So, but the good thing is like once you get this stuff all painted up, because I usually finish this all up, like, you know, get it all rust treated, paint it black. It actually looks factory, looks pretty good. And then on top of that, I like to use, I don't want to say undercoat because I don't use rubberized stuff at all, but like a good oil-based, rust-proof. Get all on the floor, in between the floor and the cross members, and then as much as you can down into these things. And then that's, you know, pretty much all you can really do to battle the rust here. So just got to keep up with it too. You can't do it once and let it go. You got to check on it. So that's the key. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, you know, these center ones, more of the factory style here. So this is what the kit looks like. You can see like how, yeah, it's not perfect, but I don't know. They're still, in my opinion, still worth the price. So again, you can clean up the edges and just kind of put some welds on the edge, you know, flap weld them that way. But again, I prefer, I'm going to drill out, you know, holes for the plug welds, and I will be installing them that way. And there's nothing really to these. I mean, other than that, it's just other than getting these holes lined up with the 2 factory holes, weld them on. That's it. Same with the next one. So we're gonna get rolling on that now. All right, got this one welded in. I sound funny because got PPE on, definitely smart. Got all this stuff welded in. So this one's good to go. Moving on to this. Got to put these patches in first. So my next job is to cut out these. And then I like to, you know, if you can, you try to keep them nice and straight. It looks good when you're done. And it makes making, like using this as a template a lot easier. So I like to use them as templates. And then usually I just add about a 1/2 inch or so to the outside, slap it on, and then I just throw a couple like stitches around the edges, and that's really about it. It's all you need on a truck bed that's, you know, going to be putting in the work. So I'm just going to keep going. It goes faster. That's how it looks on the other side. See, we've got the holes in it. So I'll just clean up around here, trace this out on a flat piece of metal, and throw it in. Alright, so I got this cut out. Let me put some of this stuff on so you can hear me. Definitely recommend wearing a respirator for this. Trust me, you don't want to breathe in any of this metal stuff. You might not think it's that important, but in the long run it is. So that's my rough patch. This is the original piece within there. I kind of got my hole marked, so it's going to get welded in just like this too. So I'm just going to trace the outside. Sharpie, a good paint marker is good to have for this. And then I don't have to do anything else. I know this is a hole, so that way I know to clean up all, along this line, a little bit over that. That way you can get a good clean weld. Do the same thing to this, front and back. I would say do the underside here, but it's more of a pain, and you just really don't have to worry about it when you're doing a lap weld, so it'll be fine there. So once I get all that all squared up, then I'll worry about pretty much cutting this hole out. So yeah, do that. So time to clean that up. You don't need to watch that. All right, got my patches welded in here. So let's see, I got my holes there. Probably wondering what the gray stuff is. Maybe not. So that's the seam sealer. Like I said, I lap welded this, so just put seam sealer around that like that. I'm gonna do the same thing on the top side once it's all flipped over and stuff, but I do this first. That way when I get this set into place, it's still sealed under this, and whatever. Does it make a difference? I truly don't know. I just feel better about it, so that's why I do it. So now this is ready to weld on. I got all my holes drilled, and that's it. I'll be finishing this spot up, and then I can move on to this one, which shouldn't require any patches, but like I said, there were some holes from getting spot welds out, and I'll probably just use a welding spoon or something and fill those in. And other than that, we'll get the last one welded in here soon too. So we're almost done. Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Kids are in the front yard playing, so anyways, so I got this one all done. That one's buttoned in there. You saw me welding that in there. I just finished going underneath here with the welded spoon and filling some of those holes in, and then I just kind of knocked them down with the flap wheel on the grinder. Got my plug welds drilled, cleaned the metal around that top and bottom. As I just did that backwards, I just realized top and just forget it. Anyways, so now I'm ready to weld. All done. Got everything welded in. So you probably saw on there I had to maneuver the jack to kind of get the floor where it needed to be. That's just how this stuff goes, which it's fine. But now everything's, everything's good. Everything's nice and straight. Strong again. Got holes in the floor. And these will be good for, probably longer than this guy's gonna have this truck. So, especially once I get everything painted up and rust proofed. So, that is going to be the next big step. So now I just gotta get all this out of here and get ready to do that. There it is, final product. All the cross members are in. You can see the texture on here. Just got done spraying rust proof all over it. You could see like these wash marks here, so I actually had the gun pointed and I was shooting it between the bed and stuff. Definitely a good thing to do. And then I shot it into the rails themselves. So yeah, we should be good. You know, I just gotta get right there some bed bolts and hardware in there, then the bolts will come after. And get this thing out and turned around, flipped upside down, and get it back on the truck. Okay, truck's all done. Bed back on. That's what it looks like now. Body lines are pretty good. Of course, my driveway being all doesn't help to show the body lines. Just hop up in here real quick. So that's just kind of what it looks like. I just got done, using the flap wheel to knock some of this down because you'll have some burn through. And those are those two patches. So seam sealed both sides. That little patch I had to do, this little thing here fell out, but this customer here is just, they're actually going to get the inside of this rhino lined, so that'll work out perfect for him. I'm just going to throw some primer sealer or something on top, whatever I got, just to protect the bare metal till he, gets to the rhino lining. Other than that, everything's done. You see the floor, all nice and rust proofed, and the rails, even did these little things, the supports. So, all good. Another one done.